the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, there's only one firecracker I want in my life this 4th of July, and his name is Justin Hausman.
I'm so ready to just not light fireworks on fire. Did you do that as a kid?
Well, yeah, you grew up in California. Have you ever been able to have the homegrown?
When I was a little kid,
Yeah.
like very little, in the San Joaquin Valley, yes, we could. So like we'd go get the ground bloom flowers and the pistol peats,
But
whistling
just
peats.
the little sparkler kinds. You didn't have like good ones, right?
Well, I don't know. Ground bloom flowers are pretty dope. You remember what those are?
Like are they the ones that spin?
Yeah. They make that
those
weird. Those are cool. And like the ones that do like big fountains of like sparks and colored sparks. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Nothing
you didn't
that
get any,
shoots into
like-
the air.
Yeah, you didn't get anything like
No
that.
bottle rockets. No bottle rockets. I mean, you could have. I just didn't. I mean, but I still get a little thrill of seeing like the like shitty plywood like stores that sell fireworks and stuff. I won't see them now because I'm not going. I usually go somewhere this week, and like on the way out of town, as I drive through the valley, I'll see all those fireworks stores. I'm like, I should stop. But yeah,
so Pennsylvania was kind of similar. They had the only on the ground ones that were little sparkler things. So my brothers and I would make homemade fireworks where we would dissect all of we cut them apart and put all the powder in the various, bottles or whatnot to see what would happen. And
that's why you only have 8 fingers.
Yeah, it's like, and there was this one year, my brother Chris took a old Pert bottle. Remember Pert shampoo, which is like it has a very narrow. What's that?
It was a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner in one.
Shampoo and conditioner. So he had it like half filled. He spent like days like filling it with like sparkler dust and the spinners and everything else. And then he stuck a sparkler in the hole where the shampoo would come out and lit it up. We had it in our street. And basically because for whatever reason it imploded because there was a lack of oxygen, or we thought it was just going to melt and like shoot stuff up in the air. The whole thing shot in the air and exploded in midair, and it was the best thing ever.
Like an actual firework.
Yeah, but we had no idea it was going to happen. And then of course we tried to recreate that, and we could never make it happen again. So it was like a one of one, but that was pretty funny.
So I tend to forget every year that like people get super into blowing stuff up, and I'll be like, oh, I wonder if we'll go look at the fire. Like around here, it's not super easy to get to a fireworks display.
You don't have one in your town? They don't do a fireworks display?
Not in this little town. They do in San Rafael, but it's like kind of hard to get to it. I'm sure I won't be here. I'll be camping. But like my wife might take the girls. I don't know. But I'm always like, oh yeah, like when you start hearing all the like regular, the like illegal fireworks going off around town, you're like, oh, that's right. But also though here it's like, that doesn't really happen in the wood. Like we're so fire conscious. So
yeah,
like,
well, that's...
if anybody busts out like a firework around here, like the entire town would like tackle them and beat them to death because it's not cool.
No, but our town does a nice job. We'll probably end up going to the park nearby where they set them off. It's actually the park where they do the fireworks display is the same one that the San Diego Mountain Bike Association just opened a giant new mountain bike park or bike park.
Oh, you lucky bastard!
It's so dope. I
have some good news to report on that front, which is that famously Marin County hates mountain bikes. Mount Tam, the birthplace in some ways of mountain biking, is almost completely closed off to mountain bikes.
Correct.
But after like decades of advocacy work, and honestly, just like an aging out of the like original sort of hiking like lobbyists, they just the Mount Tamalpais watershed. So that's Mount Tam is Mount Tamalpais, and the district or the like governing body of the watershed just like a couple days ago released a pilot program, which we knew was coming, opening up some of the existing hiking trails to bikes. But it's a pilot program, so we're just going to see how it goes. So we all, nobody knew what the trails were going to be for a while. And, most of us were like, oh, they're going to open like the dumbest ones, right? Like ones that nobody, but there's a few, like there's a great one called Northside, one called International, that are two of the like most coveted poaches in the county. They're both on there. We're shocked. And like, there's like 15 trails that they're going to open to mountain bikes, most of which are the ones that you want to ride. And we're just like, holy shit, it's happening. Like that is such a huge deal. Huge deal. I mean, people ride those trails anyway. I do too. I mean, they're poaches, but like, it's not good. Like, this is amazing. Like there's never been like even a millimeter of ground ceded by the people that control the watershed to bikes ever. So we're all just like shocked. It's amazing.
Wow, man.
Yeah. Very excited about it.
Marin County finally going to be a mountain biking spot. We'll see. Until like day one, when some idiot mountain biker like mouths off to like the old hiker.
That's the thing. And they're all like, they're all like, be extremely cool over the next like few months. Like that doesn't start until I think August or September, where you can start legally writing on them. But everybody's just like, okay, they've also already said they're going to like crack down way harder on poaches, not on those trails. The whole point is like get people off the illegal trails.
Yep, play nice there, Northern California mountain bikers. Please play nice, but don't ruin it for everybody else.
These are trails that are such a bitch to get to if you're hiking that I've never seen a hiker on these trails ever. I mean, I'm sure people do.
Yeah.
I mean, you might see trail runners, but it's like miles of fire road walking just to get. I mean,
that's good. Well, then they made good choices. And if there are already sort of low like frequency like trails, then open those up first.
It's just a refreshing news. I mean, it's great.
All right, there we go. Well, today we are going to run through some of the more notable or exciting headlines that come out of the outdoor industry and community.
That's the most notable. That's it.
We're done. Show's over.
Show's over. That's it.
Headlines we're going to talk about include a little kid who climbed a whole bunch of mountains and Patagonia's new wetsuit recycling program. But before we get to that, we want to ask you, if you haven't yet, please follow and rate The Rock Fight wherever you're listening on any podcast app. Please also leave us that 5-star rating. And if you're an Apple Podcast listener,
6-star rating.
If you
know what?
Yeah, your ones and zeros and ones. Get in there, hack that shit. Like, why does this one podcast have 6 stars and no one else does?
How hard could it be?
Yeah, they're that good. But if you're an Apple Podcast listener and you left us a written review last month, your stickers will arrive in the next couple of weeks. And if you didn't leave us a written review, we understand. Okay, we're not mad about it. But you could do it now. There's no reason why you can't do it now. So please do it now. And I know, Justin, that you have the answers to how our listeners can follow along and reach out to us.
I have the answers to a lot more than that. But that's what you want to hear right now.
Let's go with that. We'll start there, and then we'll get into the bigger stuff.
All right. Well. You know what the kids are into these days, Colin?
What's that?
Social media. I'm hearing this more and more. You know what this is? This social media. Have you heard of this?
This just came out?
Well, it is to me. Yeah, I thought, well, okay, yeah. We're over on Instagram if you want to, talk to us over there at rockfight.co. That's our Instagram handle, at rockfight.co. You can also old school email us at myrockfight@gmail.com. We like a nice snappy subject line there. So don't, our click rate's pretty good, but we'll definitely read it if you have a badass subject line in there. And then you should read our newsletters. It comes out every Sunday. Once you finish with the Sunday New York Times, you put that down, put old gray lady away, and then you go ahead and read the Rockfight newsletter. And you can sign up for that at rockfight.co. We have a little mailing list joiner.
Oh, see, you're catching my making up words disease.
Yeah, you're right. Just anyway, join the mailing list. You don't need to make up a fake word for that. You can just join the mailing list.
All right, man. You know what it's time for, right?
Is it time for more with Thermore?
It is time for more with Thermore, our weekly segment presented by Thermore, who's the original ingredient brand providing insulation solutions from Italy since 1972. So I want to, for this segment today, I was thinking paddling.com ran a story this week by a guy named Tom Gaffey that titled was "Don't Be That Guy This Summer," where they ran through a bunch of paddling. Did you see that one?
I saw that one. Yeah.
They were listing out paddling scenarios where bad decisions were made surrounding life jackets or PFDs that kind of make you look like a dumbass if you make those decisions. Things like just not wearing it, or it's too tight, or the zippers are broken, or whatever. So I thought we could have some other examples of being that guy. So we could just we can shame these people, throw a few rocks at some of these folks, and not like it's a kook or a noob move. That's defensible. You don't know yet.
Like they don't know what they're doing. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it's when
this is like someone
better.
Who's willfully being kind of a either dangerous to themselves or others.
Yes,
or just being ridiculous.
Clearly has been out here before.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you doing? So don't be that guy. Why are you being that guy?
Don't be that guy or that girl.
Do you have a one off the top of the dome, or do you want me to kick
off the top of my head? Yes, and it's. I mean, you already have a surfing one on here, but this only applies to where you live in. Well, actually, this probably applies to the East Coast too. The black ball zone. But yes, and it's surfing related, and it's don't paddle out at the one spot. There's other people. If you're at a beach and there's a million different sandbars, and you see two guys sitting by themselves, and you decide I'm just going to paddle right out to those guys. Don't do that. Never do that. Ever. Go get your own peak.
There's other places. The ocean's
There's
big.
other places to surf.
The ocean's very big.
Yeah. We found that peak. That's where we're going to surf right now. You go find your own peak, please.
Yeah, and like you alluded, so we have on our busy beaches down here in the summertime, and it's only between whatever it is, like 9 and 5, is whenever the lifeguards are out. There are surf zones and swim zones, and it's clearly marked, and there's a million different things they put on the beach to indicate where you're supposed to go, and I don't care if you're a tourist, I don't care if you've never seen the ocean before in your life. So this is actually where I go back on what I'm saying, that if a kook or noob move here applies. There's a sign that says you're not supposed to be there. Now, if you go dragging your rented foamy into the area that is just littered with kids and, people that are just going out and enjoying the beach on a summer day and trying to start catching waves, you're going to hurt somebody. So don't do that. Bad idea. Go where you're supposed to surf.
I'm going to read one that you already. Well, I guess these aren't just for.
They're up for everybody. They're up for grabs.
Yeah, the hiking up mountains with zero gear provisions is. I can't remember where we were. But I will never forget this. My wife and I were on a hike. I really don't remember where we were. It wasn't here. It was somewhere very mountainous and pretty remote.
Yeah.
And we encountered these two people, and we had day packs with like water and stuff and food and a map. And it was a long day hike, like a 12, 15 mile day hike that required like multiple junction, navigating navigation points. Good Lord, I can't talk today. Anyway, and we encountered these two people, and they asked if we had any water. That was the first thing they said to us. Do you have any water? And we said, yeah.
Do you have any water?
They had nothing.
Right.
And so we let them drink a little bit of water, and we were just like, where are you guys going? And they kind of had a vague idea.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, okay, yeah, where you're going does lead that way, but it's like a long, long way from here. Do you have a map? No. There's no cell service, no water, no snacks. They didn't have any like clothing for if it got cold. And we were like, why don't you guys just come with us? Like, we know where we have a map, we have a place that we're going. It's mostly downhill from here, and it's shorter, and that's like, they're like, well, we just came from there. I'm like, yeah, but dude, this is a bad idea. And they insisted, they went.
Maybe the kook and noob thing. We have we have to acknowledge it. Like, nah, you don't be that guy, even if you are a kook.
But it wasn't. But we also, it wasn't at that point. They stopped becoming noobs because I was explaining to them, like, look, you don't have water. This is a long ways to go.
Yeah,
there's no
point.
water. You're not going to find water. Even if you do, you don't have a filter. Like, this is just a bad idea.
Correct.
But no, they insisted.
This is how you get on the news.
Yeah, for all I know, they were. I don't know.
You never. Oh, they kept going. They didn't go with you guys.
Nope. They kept going.
Yeah. Just don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
The last one I had was like the guy you see or the gal you see climbing up the big steep climb on their mountain bike with their helmet off. Like, I've never understood that. Like I guess you're like, I'm going uphill.
I do that.
What?
If it's hot, because it gets so sweaty.
It's not. What are you saving? Are you really like now? It doesn't make that much of a difference.
I don't always do it, but I do it sometimes.
But if
it's something I've climbed a bunch and like I know, like I'd never fallen on this climb in my life.
It's not even falling. If it's a one-way trail, fine. But if it's a two-way trail, somebody can come careening on the corner and take you out.
That's true. That's true. And the situation I'm thinking of is a one-way trail, and so that is true. Yeah,
well, we know about you're not a fan of helmets. You're anti-helmet.
I'm not anti-helmet.
Famously anti-helmet.
I don't wear helmets around town.
Where the cars are.
Where the big scary death machines are. Yes.
There is something freeing about being
man.
Well, yeah.
I gotta let my hair flow.
That's right. You guys should see Justin's mullet. The NHL playoffs really inspired him. Well, today's episode of The Rock Fight is presented by the original ingredient brand Thermore, who wants you to get more out of your outdoor adventures and encourages you to not be that guy who forgets to pack a warm jacket during your summer trips. Thermore is the maker of products like EcoDown, which you'll find on the insides of the Mammut Albula In hybrid jacket. And look, guys, we might be in the middle of a nationwide heat wave here in the U.S., but there are plenty of places that you're planning to go where it gets cold at night, no matter what season we're in, right?
That's right.
Like you're going high in the mountains this weekend. There's a heat wave in California happening actively. You're going to be cold if you don't take a jacket with you.
I'm going to be cold, yeah. I think the last I saw, the high was 48 on a couple nights, which is not cold, but like I'm going to be wanting a jacket.
You want to have a jacket
outside at 48 with no jacket on.
So if you're like Justin and that's where you're headed this summer, pick up the Mammut Albula In hybrid jacket at REI. It's filled with Thermore EcoDown. And like we told you before, EcoDown is a sustainable alternative to down made from 100% post-consumer plastic bottles. And wherever you find EcoDown, that jacket will keep you toasty warm on those frigid alpine mornings. And you know what else? Then you'll be ready for fall and winter.
That's right.
You're ahead of the game.
Multiple jackets. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so do more in the outdoors this summer with Thermore. All right, well, first up today, according to Outside Online, 4-year-old Lydia Pearson has summited all 48 of New Hampshire's mountains that are 4,000 feet or higher. Over the course of doing so, Lydia traversed more than 300 miles and over 100,000 feet. Her mother started carrying her up these mountains when she was a baby, and as soon as Lydia was able to walk, she started hiking them herself. And according to the Appalachian Mountain Club, she is indeed the youngest person to accomplish this feat, which is a peak bagger list, the people in the New England area typically pursue. I think longtime listeners will probably know where I'm going with this, that maybe, 30 years from now, Lydia is a well-adjusted and accomplished adult who looks back on these adventures as formative to her success. But I think there's a few red flags in this sort of endeavor. What are your initial thoughts before I kind of start going off on?
First of all, Lydia is a good name.
And
I wish I would have thought of that when we were naming our daughters. Although I'm pretty happy with their names, but Lydia is good.
Yeah, it is a good name.
Okay. As considering I have a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old right now.
Yeah, you're right there.
Here's my first thought is like, Jesus Christ. I don't know how. I cannot imagine this. I really can't. I mean, my 5-year-old is pretty game and is like, loves running around and stuff. But like, dude, she's not climbing anything. I mean, I can't. 100,000 feet. I mean, that's. I just can't imagine my daughter doing it. But I'm not quite as convinced as you that like this is gonna that she's being dragged against her will or this is going to result in some sort of like future trauma. I don't know. I mean, kids, like some kids love doing shit before other kids do. I mean, there's a part of me that's like, gosh, the cool thing. I wish that the only thing I started doing at 4 years old was throw a ball. And I'm really good at that now.
Yeah.
But like, it would be awesome had like I learned to surf or learned to mountain bike or like all these sorts of things at 4. I mean, so I don't know. Like there could be some good stuff here. And can you imagine dragging a 4-year-old up a mountain she doesn't want to go up? She probably wanted to. Don't you think? Totally.
And according to what they talk about in the article, yes. I think the red flags to me are less that this happened. I think you can, if you the facts laid out, right? She's been going up since she was in a kid carrier. This is what they do. Her mother is an ultra runner. So this is a big part of what they do. I kind of, and this is, I think the same thing I said the last time we talked about this, which was well over a year ago when I saw, a family who was out in, central Utah with doing an incredibly burly mountain bike ride with some young kids. Her mom's quoted in the article is saying, the outdoors is all Lydia knows. And it's like, and basically implying that like, this is also her choice. And I'm like, well, she's 4. So like, of course, all kids know is what the parents have them do. Of course, this was her choice, and I listen, and I'm not trying, there's a lot of nuance here. I'm not just saying nothing's all bad or all good. I understand the good parts of the immersion in nature, the exposure to it, being comfortable with these things. Of course, all that will pay off. And I look back, I'm like, I probably could have done a little more of that with my own kids. But I do think there is something to be discussed of what she's not doing because they're doing this.
No, and I think that's true. That's true. And because like I will tell anybody who asks, I'm not planning on teaching my girls to surf. If they want to learn, if they approach me and say, "Hey, Dad, I'd love to learn how to surf," okay, we can do that. If they same thing with like fishing, but I might offer it. Hey, do you would you like to try this, and see what they say, but it's not something I'm going to decide, okay, now we're going to do this, and I see this a lot with accomplished surfers, having their kids like, they're like, can't swim on their board in the ocean. And I'm like, I get the impulse, but I don't know. I don't want to be that kind of parent. But I also, I don't know. I guess I feel like there's not a lot of downside to this, but I do know what you're getting at. Whereas like, the kid doesn't have a choice. I'm an ultra runner, so therefore you're going to do all this stuff too. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's not how I choose to go about like introducing my kids to stuff. We talked to Brendan the other day about how I had all these like grandiose plans to go backpacking with my babies and stuff, and just that's really hard. I mean, that's a big deal. Sure, lots of people do it, but I mean, it just I realized quickly that's actually not as much of a priority as I thought it would be. And so for me, it's hard to imagine being so single-mindedly focused on a thing that my toddler's going to do it with me kind of no matter what. Like that's hard to believe. It's hard to imagine, but I don't know that it's a bad thing. It's just so far from how I would approach it.
It's a weird thing because like anytime we're talking about parenting and kids and everything, it's like it becomes touchy and everybody has their own journey they have to go through and no one wants to, hear you weigh in on their parenting techniques. So like I even thought about that when I was adding this to the outline of like, is this too hot? Is this one we shouldn't even touch? But I do think that it's on us. Like my personal philosophy is exposure to a lot. Exactly what you said. If my kids all want to end up mountain biking and do the things that I like to do, because of the nature of what my wife and I like to do, they're going to get some of that, right? You like to go surfing. Eventually, your kids are going to end up at a beach while you're surfing because, like, we're just all going to go to the beach today. So there might be through that there might be some osmosis that leads to them wanting to surf, or you take them biking and maybe they eventually want to do it. I think it's like if my thing is like all I want to do with my time is go to the mountains. It's like, well, I also should recognize that, like, hey, there might be some other things I should have my kid doing.
Totally.
Instead of just this. And you can tell me that you do those things, and I guess I would believe you, the mother of this child or the father of this child. But I also know the trails that you're on, the undertaking you took, and how short amount of time this kid has been alive. You've done very little else in the last 4 years. I was making a concerted effort to do these mountains in winter when we lived there. I think I got to like 23. Now, I mean, I was an adult, I had a job, and eventually the kids came along and that kind of stuff. It's a lot. It's basically, this takes a lot of time to do. And especially with a 4-year-old, they say in the article about how they had like multiple 12-hour days and multiple overnights if they couldn't get it done in a day and those kinds of things. So you can't tell me that you're doing a whole lot of other stuff if this was your goal. So I don't know. I just kind of, this one, and I guess ultimately the last thing I kind of want to say about it that really is maybe the point is that these things just get celebrated automatically without any sort of like there's more to it than just like, oh my God, isn't that amazing? Like, well, it is amazing. I'm not saying it's not amazing, but come on, man. Like there are other angles to this besides just that's cool.
So I feel like I've talked about the show on the podcast all the time, but I was watching Dark Matter last night, and there's this Apple TV show that I really like. There's this great line where this guy's literally gone through. He's literally created a device that allows him to exist in multiple universes at once, so he can go into the one that he thinks he really wanted to be in, where he marries this woman that he didn't marry in his own timeline, and he's starting to feel like there's some he's replaced the actual himself from that timeline, but so he's a different person. He has like different ideas about what is good and what is bad and stuff like that. He's not the same guy, even though he is the same guy. Anyway, and his wife is starting to notice, right? And he's like doing all these big, grandiose, romantic things, and like he's just completely different. And he does this one thing that she really hates, and he's like, I just wanted you to be happy. And she says, no, you want you to be happy. And that's kind of what I'm thinking of in this sort of situation where it's like, there's no way the kid was like, I want to climb all 4,000. They wouldn't know what that means. Right. So like, you're clearly kind of doing this so that you can brag about it or whatever. Having said that, I would be so stoked if my 5-year-old daughter Olivia had climbed all 4,000 foot peaks.
Yeah, of course.
That would be so badass. Or like, she's like, yeah, Dad, I want to run to the top of Mount Tam at 5. I'd be like, dude, that's amazing. I'd be so proud and so stoked. So right. I get it. I totally get it. I mean, we love the outdoors. Like, we love the things that we love. And, like wanting to share it with your kids is like one of the reasons that you have kids, So like, I kind of get both sides of it. I think there's also something to be celebrated by the fact this kid's done that. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, you haven't, you know what I mean? Like
I think that it is worthy of celebration. I think look, she's 4 and was presumably 3 doing through most of this.
Must have been. Must have been.
If the kid was outright rejecting doing it, like, I can't imagine you would have continued to do it. So like I said, I'm not just trying to completely look down my nose on it, but I also...
No, but it's more like the unquestioned, like, this is obviously an unmitigated good, like, without even like going, can we dig a little bit? Yeah, I get that.
Has the kid taken a swim lesson? Like,
right.
have they gone to a little art class and like made cool like things with other kids? Like, what do I think those things hold value as well. That's all.
Yeah, I get it.
Now, I do want to address the fact that Dark Matter, if I had a device like that, I don't think I'd be searching for anything marriage related as much as I love my wife. Feels like a vast underuse of that technology.
Well, that's the thing though, is that in his timeline, he's super rich and can have whatever he wants. And like, he realizes that what he wants is that woman that I guess he knew or dated once or something, and it didn't work out. They actually haven't really explained yet why he knows that he loves that woman so much.
What would you use that device for? I'd be like, I think I'd go to the timeline where I'd be like,
I'm too claustrophobic. Like getting inside the cube, it would be no way.
He gets in a cube?
There's like this huge cube, and as soon as you close the door, it's infinite hallways, or like a corridor with infinite doors, and each one you open is a different universe in that exact same spot. But they're all wildly different. Some of them are like, it's in Chicago. Some of them, they open the door and it's like a desert wasteland because of, for this or the other thing. I mean, it's like every possible thing that can happen happens. I mean, that's what quantum physics says.
Right.
So this allows you to sort of tap into that. And, it's pretty fascinating.
Okay. Well, we'll continue our dark matter recap show in a few minutes, but I will say
this show's now called the Dark Matter Highlights or Headlines of Dark Matter. Well, this week in Dark Matter.
The outdoor industry and dark matter. That's what we cover here.
Show has nothing to do with actual dark matter, by the way, which kind of pisses me off.
That's a little
annoying. They came up with, yeah.
Well, I will say, as we often do when we talk something a little contentious here on the Rock Fight, anybody, if Lydia's mother or anybody else who knows about this would like to come on the show and talk to us about it, you're welcome to do so.
I'd rather talk to. Can we talk to Lydia?
I would love to talk to Lydia.
I'd much rather talk to Lydia.
She's just gonna be like, "Yeah, I like hiking," because she's 4. That's what she's gonna say.
Yeah, but I bet she's cool.
I bet you she's definitely cool. She's gonna. I have a feeling this kid's gonna go on.
I'd ask for some
tips.
Things. Some hiking tips. What do you like to wear?
So next up, Patagonia this week, they announced that it has co-developed an end-of-life solution for their wetsuits. According to some loser writing for Shop Eat Surf, Patagonia's partner Boulder Industries has a process that will break down natural rubber at the molecular level to increase recyclability and circularity. Oh, look, the author is sitting right here with us right now. Oh my God, it's Justin
that's me.
Hausman.
I'm that loser.
Tell us.
What do you want to know?
Tell us a little more about this breakthrough. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it does. So I went down to Patagonia last year when they were releasing these new suits, and they've made suits with Ulex for a really long time. And if you don't know what Ulex is, it's actually the brand name of a natural rubber, basically. But they used to be made from a plant. Now it's from a tree. They used to be, but it's still called Ulex. But it's a natural rubber. Neoprene is very, very awful in terms of like its environmental footprint and these sorts of things. So it's a great that, and a lot of wetsuit brands are moving away from neoprene. Pretty much any wetsuit brand is now trying to figure out, okay, how can we use Ulex or things like it? That's important because this Boulder Black thing requires the suit to be made with natural rubber. It can't be made with neoprene. But basically what happens is, well, I've written about this a ton. So you get I have Lord knows how many wetsuits. I've probably owned an astonishing amount over my life, a couple hundred, honestly. Maybe not that many, 100, something like that. I don't know where any of them are. Like I've probably thrown some in the garbage. I've given some away. I've sold some. There used to be these sort of nascent wetsuit recycling programs where you could go to a surf shop and throw your wetsuit in a bin. And maybe some company will make like koozies out of the neoprene or like something like that. But it's never been really possible to like make a new wetsuit from it. I know Finisterre, the British brand, they make really high end wetsuits in a very sustainable way. They were really trying hard to come up with a way to make a wetsuit recyclable. I don't think they've figured that out yet. I can't quite remember, but it's a cool brand. It's a cool idea. Anyway, so what this program does is get it basically as close as you can get to that. So when your suit is done, you can send it back to Patagonia, or you can even take it there if you want. It doesn't have to be a Patagonia suit. Any suit made from natural rubber, and they ship it to this place called Boulder Industries, which is in Colorado, but I don't think it's in Boulder. It's Bolder, like bold, like brave, not like the rock. And they basically just, I think, incinerate it. And just basically break it down to its essential like carbonness. And that material is called carbon black. And carbon black is used in a whole lot of products to basically make things black. Or it can also add like stability or rigidity to like plastics and things like that. But primarily what they can do with it now is they can use it in new wetsuits. So they take the like basically incinerated version of your old wetsuit and they put it in a batch with like the natural rubber for the new wetsuits, and it like forms part of the rubber that goes in the new wetsuits, and it dyes them black. And it's a much better dye than like a normal like chemical dye would be, I guess. But it's a cool system. There's not really been end of life options for wetsuits unless you wanted to figure out how to DIY something to like reuse that neoprene.
Yeah.
But this is a cool way where you can actually, it requires less virgin materials to use because you can actually use this old stuff. And always been one of the benefits of Patagonia's like wetsuit stuff. Like you can send any brand's natural rubber to them and they'll do it. It doesn't just have to be Patagonia. And like they'll repair other brands of wetsuits too. Like Patagonia does a really good job of trying to make a product that's traditionally been really hard to deal with in terms of sustainability and make them last longer and then give them a second life. It's pretty cool.
So this isn't a full-on circular solution in that, because there is I'm sure there's an impact to the burning incineration process, and you're not getting a one-for-one, like it can go back towards wetsuit, but it has the
it's not forming a whole new wetsuit.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's better than just throwing it in
ingredient.
a landfill, which
Far
is kind of
better.
the point. Right.
Far better. And I I'm forgive me for not remembering exactly what the details are. I'm fairly certain that like the way Boulder Black does it is pretty eco-friendly. Like I think, whether it's the energy that they use to like to burn things is like eco-friendly. I can't quite remember all that. They gave us a presentation on it, and it was enough to really think, wow, this is actually a really cool system. This is a cool idea. And I didn't know what carbon black was. I mean, anybody who's in like certain kinds of materials will know what that is instantly. And that's normally a thing that you buy that's made from petrochemicals. So it also eliminates the need to buy that sort of stuff to dye wetsuits black and to add whatever the filler carbon black does.
Carbon Black,
cool.
I think, is the spin-off series from Dark Matter. I think
it's a cool name, Carbon Black.
It is a great name. What
but
if you're
cool.
just a chronic wetsuit peer? You always pee in your wetsuit. It's just fuck it all up.
Everybody's a wetsuit peer.
Do you pee in your wetsuits?
Not, of course, dude. Anybody who says they don't is lying.
I have. I try really hard not to.
Why?
I don't know. I feel it's going to make it stinky eventually, No?
Well, you should wash your wetsuits.
With what?
Oh, boy. I'll send you some articles.
That's why I don't pee in my wetsuit. I just rinse it off and dry it out.
You got to wash your wetsuits anyway. They'll last a lot longer.
I just try not to pee in my wetsuit because I'm a stand-up guy. I don't pee in my wetsuits.
Everybody pees in their wetsuits.
I mean, I have.
Everybody
like I said,
does.
I have, but I try
not
to.
What do you get out of the water to go? You just stop surfing?
No, that's just when I like, okay, fine, fuck it, I'll do it. But I try I try not to go.
It's like one of the, what's one of the best? That's like one of the little joys of surfing. It's like the water's cold.
This is consider like soaking in your like hot urine while you can tell
out
seawater.
It flushes out in
seconds.
But
like a solid like 90 seconds where you're like, I am just sitting in piss right
sterile.
now.
Your urine is sterile. What do you think you're sitting in the ocean? What do you think whales are doing in there all the time?
That's fine. The whale piss is like glorious.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's like the chemical in Dune that like the water of life or whatever.
Yeah, it's the blue shit that she. Yeah. Well, but back to the carbon black thing. I mean, these are the developments we need like across the board. I mean, this is where like I'm glad I read your article. I'm glad to hear about this. It's like Patagonia, like promote this. Like this is a real solution. Like I'd rather like see more juice put behind something like this.
They don't really. Patagonia doesn't really promote their wetsuit line very much. I mean, like you'll see ads in Surfer's Journal. And I guess maybe in a few other places.
I don't even care that it's a wetsuit. It's the fact that you identified a problem that is like, especially the dirty world of wetsuits where traditional neoprene we know is not great and it's a hard thing to make that is very impactful and it's not good. You don't want to just ditch it. Like we have partnered with someone to create a solution, and more coverage on this is I think incredibly important because it's like you need to highlight this. Like, it's great that you're doing all the work you do environmentally, but it's like, show the other brands that, like, this is the stuff we actually need. This will make the category.
They actually do. So one of the things that's cool about Patagonia is when they came up with, they didn't invent Ulex, but when they started working with Ulex, gosh, it must be like 10 or 12 years ago now. The first thing they did was, like, make it available to other brands. Like, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
So, like, they are pretty good about that kind of thing. But you're right, they don't market that very well. And I truthfully think it's just the nature of their surf side of the business. Like, they don't seem to.
It is a little like a bit of their redheaded stepchild.
It's a very small part of what they do. Like, it's like they are not anywhere near like the top 5. I mean, I don't even think they're in the top 10 of.
But that's what I mean. Like this
wetsuit sales.
If one of your even if it's one of your smallest categories is historically known as a sort of like quote unquote dirty sort of apparel arm of the fashion industry, and you've created something that helps mitigate that, it's like just shows your capabilities and shows what you're willing to do. So it's a great thing to put on a pedestal. But I mean, otherwise, I mean, like that's just my own little like, and that's not me taking a shot at Patagonia. I'd say that about anybody. Everybody needs to highlight this stuff so that everybody does better. That's kind of what I'm getting at. But. Well, last thing we want to talk about is kind of you can tell the holidays upon us. Not a ton of news this week, but according to Adventure.com, Unyoked, which is not a company that makes you less ripped, unfortunately.
That's what I'm looking for. I need that. I need to be de-yoked a little bit.
You're so huge. It's an Australian company that operates a collection of cabins, and they ran an experiment to see if employees were more productive in those cabins or in the office. And apparently 86% of employees claim they found new ways to work in the cabins. 63% claim to feel less stressed coming back to the real world.
Yep.
Employees use use their laptops less, that pen and paper more. They went for walks that inspired breakthroughs. They slept longer and felt more relaxed. It's kind of interesting. It was a little vague in the press release in terms of like why they have these cabins.
Why a cabin?
Yeah. I mean, I assume this is something related to what Unyoked does, but I thought the data was interesting. I didn't think it was anything. I wasn't surprised reading it, but I mean, does it necessarily need to be a cabin? I mean, we both work from home and coffee shops, and like you said, you're camping and you're going to have full internet access. If you wanted to do some work while you're at your campsite, you could. Like, I think it's more, I look at it as more like the versatility of kind of different environments that leads to that productivity.
Sure.
But I don't know. Were you like, yeah, I want to go be in a cabin after reading this?
Not necessarily, but that could be the fact that I've always only worked remotely. And so I don't necessarily love being crazily isolated. I mean, I will if I need to. Like if I'm going, like I've done this before where we go, we do like family trips and all, I used to do a lot of work from a mobile hotspot. Like, I don't even know if they make those anymore, but an actual little like...
The one that you plugged into your laptop?
Device.
Yeah, I used to have one of those.
No, it was like a little puck, and it just like, it worked
I remember
from...
those.
Yeah. Like if you had LTE, you had basically like pretty fast internet.
Yeah, now it's just built into your phone, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I would do a lot of this like this is before we had kids. So like my wife and I would just like go to Crater Lake for like a week, and I would just like 4 hours a day find a campsite or just sit in the truck. My wife would go hiking. I like doing that, but I couldn't. I like working in coffee shops. Like I love working remotely.
So do I.
But I really like being around other people, which is weird.
I like the white noise.
I don't need to go to an office, but yeah, the white noise helps. You feel more productive. You feel like you're more part of commerce.
I agree.
So if I was like writing novels or something and I couldn't be distracted, sure, a cabin sounds amazing. But I think I would end up going, oh, cool, a cabin, and then I'd be like Googling nearest coffee shop with Wi-Fi, and just going to work from there. I mean, I probably spend maybe 2 hours a day at the most at home when I'm working. I'm either at coffee shops or the library or a friend's house that also works remotely, that kind of thing.
Now, even moving around in the house, like I'll go sit outside for a little while, or like sit in I'm at a desk or I'm at the kitchen table. It just kind of, I have the same experience. I do think it's an interesting thing when it comes to the whole remote work debate, which it seems like there's been these wild fluctuations, like through the pandemic, then after the pandemic, and now people are like, fuck it, I got to come back to the office. Like that kind of like. There's, I understand the importance of having people in an office, having worked in offices. And even when I was always working remotely, I always got value of going to the office.
Yeah, totally.
Right. But also, I mean, I think the versatility of being able to move around and like all the things you're saying, I agree with. I think eventually if I was in a cabin, I'm sure I'd probably be pretty great. I think the silence would probably, if I wanted to work, would probably get to me. I'd be calling you like, hey man, like, what do you think of this? I need to have that kind of at that level. Yeah. Just some other, I don't know, a little bit of a little chaos. I think goes a long way, I guess.
But like, there is no doubt to me, just from watching my wife's career, that I mean, I think if you're younger and you don't have like, especially if you're younger and you don't have a family, I could totally get why you'd much rather work in the office. Like I completely understand that. Or if you have the kind of job where you have to be like doing something on a computer all day, then like
data entry stuff, like kind of
sure. I could see, although maybe then you really don't want to be in the office. You'd rather be doing somewhere prettier. I don't know, but I've just like noticed that, my wife is very successful in her career. She's the head of her organization, and like she loves that she doesn't have to go to an office. I mean, it's been years now, and she just like her and her colleagues will like meet and go for a hike in the redwoods, and they'll like take the ferry to San Francisco. They don't even need to. They'll just go in and like walk around and have like walking meetings, and it's just she'll be you see this a lot around here, just because it's a small town and you walk around and you see everybody. I mean, like people are outside washing their cars with their like AirPods in. You can tell they're having a meeting. People are like doing gardening while having a meeting. I mean, it's if you have the kind of job where mostly you just need to sort of communicate with folks. It just seems like I can't fathom wanting to be, having to work in an office at that point. I mean, it would feel like, it would seem like you're being punished in some way or something like that. Like almost like detention. Like, nope, you got to stay here, But I mean, again, there's plenty of reasons why you would, And if I would love to have access to an office like a couple days a week. I think that'd be great.
Right.
And like I used to do the WeWork thing and stuff, but it's not the same.
So would you want to work in a cabin?
I would rather work in a cabin than an office, I guess.
Yeah, you say pick one or the other, of course. I like all
Yeah.
these things they're saying. Like this, they went for walks, they did these things. I think the one thing I'd like to hear a little bit more about is like I'm using my laptop less. Like, what does that mean? What are these
I
people
wondered
doing?
about that too. I guess I think there is sort of a like I've never worked in an office, but I would imagine that like you probably feel compelled to always have your goddamn screen on, or else it looks like you're not doing anything.
Oh, that's
And, like
true.
my wife doesn't have her computer open that much unless she's like sending an email or like writing a report. Like most of the time or actually that's not true. She'll do video calls.
Yeah.
But she's rarely like just typing stuff in. Like she takes notes by hand for some ungodly reason, mostly just so she can leave them all over the house so I can clean them up. But like, she like, I think that's cool. I have my computer open when I don't need to all the time because it feels like I'm being productive. But if no one's watching you or whatever, you probably would.
All right, man. We can wrap it up.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
Well, the Rock Fight's production of Rock Fight LLC. Our producer today was supposed to be David Carstad, but he had car trouble.
Where was he?
He had car trouble. His car apparently died. So that's why we were a little meandering. It's his fault. I'm going to blame him for that. Art direction provided by Sarah Gensert. For Justin Hausman, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening to The Rock Fight. He's here to take us out like he always is. It's Krista Makes. The Rock Fight fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock fight.